హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, అందరూ ఎలా ఉన్నారు? ఈ బిల్డింగ్ని చూస్తున్నారు కదా, ఇదే ఎస్ఈసి హైడ్రో. ఇదే COP26కి వేదికగా నిలిచిన బిల్డింగ్. ఈ సదస్సుల చివరి రోజుల్లో శాంతియుతంగా ప్రొటెస్ట్ జరిగింది. ఈ ప్రొటెస్ట్లో ఫిలిప్పైన్స్, కెనడా మరియు అదర్ కంట్రీస్ నుంచి ప్రతినిధులు వచ్చారు. ఈ ప్రతినిధులందరూ కూడా ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్కి బాగా ఎఫెక్ట్ చేసే ఒక్క పాయింట్ గురించి మాట్లాడారు. అదేంటంటే మైనింగ్ వల్ల ల్యాండ్, వాటర్, పీపుల్ ఎలా ఎఫెక్ట్ అవుతున్నారో వాళ్ళు క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. అదేవిధంగా ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ని ఎలా కాపాడుకోవాలో వాటికి సొల్యూషన్ గురించి కూడా డిస్కస్ చేశారు. ఇంకా లేట్ ఎందుకు, వెళ్ళి వారి మాటల్లోనే విందాం పదండి.
Mining often leads to flooding, deforestation, land degradation, depletion of our fishes and other wildlife, and pollution of crucial water sources, thereby compounding the effects of climate change. By polluting water sources, mining leads to mercury poisoning. For example, in one of my villages called Parabara, the only accessible water source has been contaminated by mercury due to mining. Tests conducted in 2018 confirmed that mercury levels of Parabara residents were significantly higher than the World Health Organization's recommended level. Extractive mining is accelerating the environmental effects of climate change, particularly for indigenous peoples. So it is imperative that COP26 address this. We call on COP26 to acknowledge the urgency and gravity of the devastating impacts of mining in indigenous lands and collectively works towards a solution. Thank you.
Canada, in a wealthy country, is still impacted by mining. Our indigenous people are right at the front lines as well, closing down those mines because they continue the extractive resources that affect our land, our water, and our people and our way of life. We can no longer continue to tolerate this climate crisis that was colonial made. Even the solutions that are coming out of COP here are still colonial solutions because they are not respecting the recognition of the indigenous title and rights, the proper title holders. In Canada, every square inch of that land is held by the proper title holders, the indigenous people. We have never ceded, surrendered, or relinquished any of our lands to the colonial government or to the modern governments you see under Canada and under the provincial governments. The British North American Act we were not at the table. They said they came in and conquered us, but you will have no records of that. You will also have no records that Canada has any deed or title to our lands. So we hold the underlying title in Canada and in the provinces. They have to deal with us under any extractive resource, including pipelines, trans-mountain pipelines. They do not have our proper title holders' consent, nor do many of these mining activities that provide the world with the nickel, with the lithium, with all the things that you're calling green energy. So when you're thinking of green energy solutions, you need to think what's all the components of it, because it'll include things that displace our people, with their water, with their health, that leave these contaminations behind. And our people are struggling. We're at the front lines of this crisis, of the climate crisis worldwide. And we, in our resistance, held down 80% of that lands from being further developed and further impacted due to this continued way of life that is impacting the world. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your grandchildren if we do not do something. Do we really think the people at COP, the state governments, are going to come up with those solutions? They're struggling over trying to figure out how to finance it. They're struggling over trying to figure out how to negotiate a good deal where they can continue to pollute our lands, continue to exasperate all of us to the climate crisis. Do they even understand what it means to be at the front lines? Those state government people should be at the front lines looking at what the devastation is happening in our lands. They should be able to see how many people it's killing. In BC, we had a heat dome. It killed just about under 600 people in a week and a half. a heat dome that was never ever seen before in British Columbia. It burnt down entire cities. Lytton was devastated. I don't know how many years it's going to take to rebuild that town. It took 20 minutes for that fire to come down the hill and burn the town completely. So we're talking about escalated climate crisis, fires, floods, everything you can think of. We had a tornado in Vancouver. That's unheard of. So we got to get to the point and say we need free, prior informed consent to our Indigenous people, recognition to their titles, because we're the ones going to lead that fight. We're the ones that are going to stop that mining. We're the ones that are going to stop that Trans Mountain pipeline or those pipelines to keep the fossil fuels in the ground, like the sign was saying earlier. Our people are so courageous. They need your support. They need you to understand what this issue means. Each of your cell phones have those nickel and lithium and all those things in there. I rode your train over from Edinburgh. Your electric train, great idea, but think about it. Probably all that lithium he was talking about's in there. So we need to really think through these issues, if they are real climate solving problems, like how they're going to address it, or are they just adding to the issues? And we really need to have that free, prior informed consent and that recognition of our title and rights so we can have a balance and harmony in the planet that's needed today. There should be no reason that we would not have clean drinking water. There should be no reason why people are going hungry. There should be no reason why people don't have proper housing. Because we're still going along the agenda of the 1%. We're still feeding into their plan, into their agenda, and that's the same thing happening here at COP26. I can really resonate with what Greta Thunberg said, blah, 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 because I was in that World Summit leader meeting on Monday where Joe Biden fell asleep. I wanted to hold up a sign and say, wake up. You know, everybody wake up. And, you know, and I was in some of the negotiations. I got kicked out of half of the negotiation meetings because observers have no status. Our Indigenous people are the sovereign states of our countries, but we can't even get in these meetings. So we can't even bring what we're saying to the table. But thank goodness we can stand outside of COP26, and I really put my hands up to Munsa there for organizing this, because this is an important message today. Everybody should be getting this message today, because it's going to be important what we do back at home, because the world leaders are still struggling to come up with anything concrete. They might come up with some trade deals. You know, what's the trade deal going to go to do to us in Uganda or to Indonesia or to Canada, the front lines?
Here, and thank you for coming out. I'm Leah from the Center for Environmental Concerns in the Philippines. Many of you might not know where the Philippines is. It's in Southeast Asia. It is home to the highest number of mineral resources such as gold, copper, and nickel. That's why there are many foreign corporations that are coming in our country and have mining operations. Actually, our country allows 100% foreign ownership. That's why there are countries like Australia and Canada that has operations in our country. So the Filipinos are not benefiting from our natural resources. It all comes out of our country and benefited by other corporations that produce all the products and have all these profits. For example, is the Oceana Gold Mining Corporation. It's been operating in our country for how many years, and its permit just got renewed for another 25 years. So that's another generation of people affected by the mining operations, another 25 years of water depletion, of losing their livelihood. And I'm holding up the sign, Defend Environmental Defenders, because in the Philippines, military operations always comes with mining operations. It's the military, it's the police that are protecting corporations. They are protecting investments. We have actually a law that allows mining companies to be protected by police, paramilitary, and military forces. So the Philippines is the most dangerous place for environmental defenders in Asia. We have been the most dangerous place for the 8th year now. And in the whole world, we are the 3rd most dangerous place for environmental defenders. So most people know about Colombia, most people know about Brazil, but most people don't know about the Philippines. but these killings have been happening every day, every single time a mining operation starts, and it's happening all over our country. So we call upon the COP presidency, we call upon world leaders and COP participants and everybody who's not here to have some action done to protect environmental defenders, because environmental defenders are doing what our governments are not doing. They're protecting our environment, they're rehabilitating ecosystems destroyed by mining, they're conserving precious natural resources that might not be benefited by future generations.
Hello everybody, my name is News Kamada. I'm from the Nukhalk Nation of what is now known as the northwest coast of British Columbia, Canada. Our lands are occupied by Canada, illegally occupied. We have never ceded, we have never sold, we have never lost a war our lands. We have our ancestral governance system still intact. I'm also from Secwepemc Uluk, and I recognize Gukpi Judy Wilson, who we're from the same territory. She spoke of the Mount Polley mine disaster that happened in 2014 in our homelands. It happened in the spawning grounds of salmon. It happened in one of the deepest freshwater lakes in North America. And it was barely a ripple on the Canadian media. Canadian mining companies are global. Over 75% of mining companies in the world are registered in Vancouver and in Toronto. Why are they registered in Canada? Because it's good business in Canada to mine in Canada, to be registered there, because the foundations of colonization, especially in British Columbia, were founded on gold mining. Gold mining, this gold fever was felt in our communities much differently than it was around the world. The gold fever that was felt by our people was measles, was smallpox that were deliberately introduced into our territories to clear our people from the land. The genocide that comes in before the extraction. We're still feeling the impacts of that in our territories now, in our beautiful mountains in Nukhalk, the coastal mountain ranges. The glaciers are melting. And the companies, all the mining companies, are drooling over the opportunity to be the first ones to come in there. And what comes with industry, what comes with this extraction? Man camps. Our women are targeted. Yesterday we had a rally talking about missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. We have bullseyes on us. These man camps, they come for our mountains. What do they call the living layer of land, the living piece of the land over top of the rock in mining? They call it overburden. It's a burden to get through that living piece. We're a burden on the land to these miners. Canada claims to be a world leader in climate action and climate change, yet the Prime Minister Trudeau bought a pipeline. How does that make any sense? You know, we've got mining companies saying in our territory that we evicted this summer. Juggernaut Exploration Limited, we evicted them from our territory. On their website, they say that they're a grassroots organization and that they're sustainable. Lies, 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 lies. It's so important for all of us to stand together. You're hearing worldwide of what's happening to Indigenous peoples. It's happening in the poorest countries. It's happening in the richest countries. You know, these corporations are coming in and they're setting the agenda. They're setting the agenda for COP26. Who's running the show? It's money. The Corporation of Canada is who we have to deal with. You know, we're still dealing with British Empire. Canada is a colony of the British Empire. We have redcoats in our communities, the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, that are victimizing, brutalizing all of our people who are standing for the land. Our people say, you know, we're not protecting the land, we are the land. Chief Judy Wilson says this many times, and it's true. Our bodies are made of the very glacier water that we drink, of the salmon that we harvest still from our rivers, but they're declining. They're declining so much. Our way of life is under such threat because our connection to these lands has been a constant attack since the colonizers first landed on our shores.
We're making the point that although we have to stop climate change, although we need to leave the fossil fuels in the ground, it's about more than that. It's about the fact that maybe in order to do it, we're going to need transition minerals, we're going to need cobalt, we're going to need lithium. We need to think about that as well. We need to think about the impact that that's going to have. So, with that, we're going to take the statement that's mentioned, take it to COP so that the leaders understand that as well. And hopefully you will join us all. So, thank you.
With, you know, with actual people. Exactly. Talking about actual solutions for actually cooling the planet. Like solar radiation management, for example, marine cloud brightening, right?
What are your hopes from the COP?
Pardon me?
What are your hopes? What are your hopes and
It's not just a hope, but a conviction and a determination. My commitment is that we build this vast network of conversations and that it grow exponentially. We just need to get to critical mass, right? It's just like if you're trying to get a wet log on fire, you need a critical mass of heat. We need that. In this case, we need a critical mass of committed people like yourselves to join us, to join the conversation, the big yellow banner there. That's what we need. That's my commitment.
thank you for your time.
Thank you. Love to follow up with you. James, could we get a card for the gentleman? Yeah. Alan, fancy seeing you here. Goodness, I don't think I saw you since the last time I was in Scotland. Yeah.
The coat of hopes. It's warm on the south coast of England.
Was made by several people made it.
Hundreds of people have made